Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to start. Very happy. We're a couple minutes early, so welcome everyone for joining. It's going to be a great next hour or so. I really believe it's going to be a lot of fun, and I do believe you'll walk away with some really good input for your business. And so thank you all for joining. There's just a ton of people in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started in a few minutes. But first off, maybe just tell me where you're from, what the name of your business is. Joshua, Gavin, Will, John, Chuka is in the house. If you guys don't already, get some water. Stay hydrated for the next hour or so. Put your phone on mute. I don't even know where my phone's at. Oh, it's in my pocket. Okay. We're going to charge that bad boy. Leave that alone right there. Okay. If you have a printer, be close to that because I'm going to give you a template that ideally you print off, or because it's going to be a PDF, you could also use if you have a Remarkable or you have an iPad to write on, you're going to want to use that. So we're going to do it in the presentation today. You will need to download a PDF and draw on it. So either you can print it off, you can use an iPad, you can use whatever you need, but you will want to have that be able to be printed off and drawn on as a PDF. So we got Harold in the house saying Roll Tide. Supposedly, I hear last night didn't go so well, three points or something like that. Marco, Dakota, welcome. Jose, Isaac, Marlon, Michael, Marcus, Parker, Patrick, Jaeger. Okay, we just have a lot of people now. Okay, there's too many for me to say everyone's name now. Okay, so welcome everyone. Tucson, Arizona, Minnesota's in the house. Midland, Texas. Travis, welcome. North Dallas, Green Empire Lawn Care, American Dream Landscaping. Patrick, Rittman, Ohio. Adam Jones, let's go. Just a ton of people. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Dennis in Texas, Kansas, Ontario. I'm going to be in Ontario next week for a turnaround show. It's going to be fantastic. Coastal Pools is in the house. Yardworks, GoPro, Parker's Lawn and Landscape. Oh, wow. There's a ton of. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This is fantastic. Let's see here. Fantastic. We got people from Mexico in the house. TLC. Man, we got tree services, junk removal, Toronto. Wow, this is fantastic. Okay, well, welcome everybody. I really appreciate you all being on here. The Sod Squad, Boise, Idaho. I'm gonna be in Idaho next week as well for a turnaround. I'm going to Ontario and then I'm going over to Idaho. So looking forward to it. We'll probably get our first turnaround where there's snow plowing involved. We got South Australia. We got Maine, Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. I really do believe over the next hour, it'll be super beneficial and actual tangible things you'll be able to take away for you and for your business going into 2024. We got people in Washington State. Let's go. Not too far away from me. We got, oh my God, this is a ton of people. Alberta, Josh, Jeremy, Alberta, Sons. Let's go. This is a ton of people. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you all being on here. Just a couple more days to the end of the year. And so I did want to do something. I'm not going to be able to read everyone's name. Sorry. They're just kind of pouring in. So thank you everyone for being on today. And I will do some Q&A. I am going to go ahead and turn okay, we got pros washing. There's a bunch of people here. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn the comments off just so I can't see them. But you can still comment all you want. But otherwise it's distracting for me. I will come back to comments and I'll do some Q&A at the end of all of this. So please feel free to comment. I'm just not going to be responding to them because I get distracted when I'm trying to focus on my presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. We're just a minute in. If you just are joining, make sure you do a few things. Get some water. Introduce yourself in the chat. That's part of the entry fee for coming on live here is that you introduce yourself. So in case you're watching this on some other platform randomly, go to mikeandes.com/2024, get the full experience with everyone else in the chat. And you can introduce yourself. That is again, the cost of admission. Get some water, and then you will need to be by a printer for a PDF to be able to print this off, or you'll be able to download this and you'll be able to put on your iPad and draw on it. So you'll want to get close to something like that because in about 15 to 20 minutes after I do a presentation, we are going to go through this vision map together. Get some water. Let's go ahead and jump into things. I am going to need a volunteer at some point. So hold your horses for that. I don't know who that's going to be, but I will eventually come back to the comments because I'll need a volunteer. But I will need to know your email address also. So we'll figure that out. I want to do that live. So first off, though, let's talk about planning in general. So today we're talking about strategic planning, and I really do believe that you'll walk away from the next hour or so having some real tangible things to implement inside your business. But let's go ahead and get started. How this presentation is going to make you some money, because that's why we're here, is I really believe you spend 1% more time on this thing that we're going to talk about today, you'll grow your business by 100%. You can literally double your business by spending 1%. This time is a lever in your business. And if deployed correctly into the right places of your business in terms of attention, you can have outsized returns, which means I don't spend 1% more of time and get 1% better business. I get 1% input of time and 100% better business. I can double the revenue of my company if I spend 1% of an input. That is what you call a lever, when you get an outsized return from the inputs given, right? So I believe if you spend 1% of your time on this that we talk about today, you can have a massive, massive return in the business. Okay. So I want to ask the question, and in the comments, hit me up. Tell me what's going on. What percentage of your month is spent on strategy? All right. So you might have to do some math on this. So you say, okay, well, if I spend, let's just say you do an hour a month. So 1 hour out of, let's just say you're working 50 hours a week. So that would be 1 divided by 200 per month. So you'd be looking at around, what is it? Like 0.005, which would be 0.5% of your month would be spent on strategy. Okay. So what percentage of your month, someone asked me this a while back. I was joining a mastermind and they asked, what percentage of your day is spent on strategy? Like your day. And I was like, well, can't really quantify it in day, because I don't really spend much time on strategy, even in a given week, let alone a month, let alone a given day. It's very common that we get so caught up in operations, sales, administration, hiring, all these other things. We don't actually take time to sit down what we're doing today and actually focus on strategy. Here's the thing. If you spent 1% of your time on strategy, that would mean you would spend 3 full days per year just thinking about the strategy of your business. Now, this is a lot of times when people think about strategy, they think about this as working, quote unquote, on their business. And so a lot of times, because we are working on our business, we somehow attribute that with bigger businesses and more successful businesses, which this is the crazy thing. The people that work on their business usually become bigger. So if your goal is to grow a business, it is going to require you to work on it. And the reason I'm making this delineation is because strategy is part of working on your business. And if you're only working on your business, even as a successful entrepreneur, 1%, only 1% of your day is spent on something that is so important fundamentally to the growth of that organization, the growth of your business, the growth profitably, and from a revenue perspective. It's actually laughable that we only spend 1% of our time working on the business. It is phenomenal. Like, even if you say, okay, well, I'm out of daily operations. Well, what are you doing all the time? Well, I run to the post office, I run to the bank. You're still working in the business. Just because you're not actively doing the work out in the field does not mean you are working on the business. You're doing sales, you're stuffing envelopes, you might be doing some door hangers. You're still working in the business. Really working on the business means you take the thing, the business. Here, a better example. We take the business and we work on it, which means we are outside of it. And without us, it doesn't really improve or change, but then we work on it. And so that's what strategy to me is. Working on the business equals strategy. And so I'd challenge you, even if you're at a size of $5-10 million in revenue, I'd still challenge you and ask you, what percentage of your day, what percentage of your week, what percentage of your month, what percent of your year is actually spent on strategy? Because that's really the best bang for your buck as you begin to grow the business. And if you were to spend 1%, you'd be spending a full 3 days. We're going to spend like an hour talking about strategy right now. Okay. If you spent 1% of your year working on strategy, you'd actually spend 3 full days. All right. So keep this in mind. I think this is something to really think about when you start looking at where you spend your time. Now, before we get started, I need everyone to download this workbook. Now, the most efficient way of me doing this was to make this as a free product on our site. So just go to mikeandys.com/free plan. All right. And just, check out it does not require a card. I'm 99.99% sure. It does not require a card. Just go download this right now. So open up a different tab in your browser, go to mikeandes.com/free plan. And if you're watching this later, or if you want to do it later, I'm going to go through this example right here. But if you want to work through it with me live, go to this link over on the screen, right? Download at mikeandes.com/free plan. It's literally just a PDF for you to download, and I'm going to work through it with you. And trust me, you'll get so much more out of this next 30 to 60 minutes if you can work through this with me and actually fill this document out. So I'm going to be talking, so feel free to open up another tab, whatever you need to do to get this workbook downloaded. All right. So while you're doing that, because you need to be taking action right now. All right. This is not a time to sit back. mikeandes.com/free plan. Download the PDF, print it off if you need to, put it on your iPad if needs be. While you're doing that, I'm going to leave this on the screen so you can make sure you get that URL. Let me see here. Let's see. So like Chuka says, 5 minutes. During the winter, I think a lot about during mowing season, 0%. That's very common in seasonal businesses, by the way, is to spend most of your strategy time and you're working on the business during the winter. Can't get audio. Click the mute button. That is a good idea. 12%. That's pretty amazing. 10%. Not enough. 5%. 12%. All right. So this is the amount of people spending time on strategy. 0%. 10%. 10%, my dude. 4%. I don't know how I got that's very accurate. Big old zero. 5 to 10 hours per month. Okay, this is good. All right, this is fantastic. It's amazing to me if we actually stack this up against how many time do you spend in meetings? How much time do you spend doing things like shop maintenance or a lot of other things in our business, but we don't spend time on strategy. So I've been stalling for you for the past couple seconds. I'm going to hide my comments. Go to mikeandes.com/free plan. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Oh, I need to take that comment off. How do I do that? Hide current comment. There it is. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like once you have downloaded this. This is what we're going to be working about in about 10 minutes. I want to go through a presentation about strategy first, so it's really clear once we jump in exactly what you can expect and really the focus of this vision map. So before we get into the vision map, let's talk about a few things. All right, what happens if you don't have a strategy? If you don't have a strategy, you're extremely reactive, okay? Imagine going on a road trip, you don't have a map, and you are simply going to be reacting to every single sign, signal, and visual cue because you don't have a map. You don't have a GPS. You don't really know how close or far away you are from something until a sign tells you. So every once in a while, you're going to get a data point, and you're like, oh, sick, we're closer than we thought. Or, oh my goodness, I should be getting off right now. I should be getting on this different highway because that sign told me. Whereas if you would have had a strategy, had a plan, had a map in place, you would have known for the past however long you've been driving that you need to be getting off in 5 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles. And you know exactly, there'd be way less reactive to, oh my word, there's a sign that says I need to get off here. I'm super low on fuel. Why? Because I didn't plan how many miles I was driving on this road and what my current fuel gauge was. Just FYI, fuel gauge, think cash. When you're doing planning, it's extremely important to know how much fuel you have in the tank. It's extremely important when you're doing planning to know exactly how much cash you have in the bank because it's going to be the determining factor of how fast and how far you can go on this journey. Another thing I find when people don't have a strategy is they get reactive to everything that happens in the business. Employee leaves, a key hire leaves, a big contract they lose out on. I'm going to be going to a turnaround next week. They lost 2 massive commercial contracts, and now their revenue is half of what it was last year. That's a huge problem. But again, where was the strategy to be able to sit down and start thinking about why is 50% of our revenue being generated by just 1 or 2 contracts? That leaves us very vulnerable. And what it does is when those contracts are lost, you become reactive to the fact that you have not had a strategy or a plan in place to take into account that these things can happen. So, like dynamite, we blow up. An employee leaves, it's been with you for 5 or 6 years, and all of a sudden, you literally think you're going to melt. The whole business is going to fall apart. And you become reactive because you don't have a strategy in place. And here's the thing, reactive doesn't necessarily mean things go bad. Things go really, really good for your business. But because you don't have a strategy, you do become reactive. You go into spring rush, and your business is literally tripling. And that sounds like a fantastic thing. but you don't have a plan, a strategy in place, and therefore you're reacting to the fact that now you have a backlog of 6 weeks, you're way overbooked on the schedule, and everyone's working crazy overtime hours, and therefore they start to bail, they start to leave, they start to walk off the job simply because they're getting overworked. Whose fault is that? That is the owner's fault for not having a plan and a strategy in place, and because of that, they become reactive. So what happens in the middle of spring rush? Oh, we got to stop the leads. Turn off the estimates. No more estimates. Oh my goodness. We got to cut out the side of our service area. No more jobs over there. Oh my goodness, we're still overbooked. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm gonna buy another truck. I'll buy another truck. I'll just go ahead and get some debt. And all of a sudden, they get into short-term debt. Employees start to leave because they're overworked, and all these downstream effects, when in reality, the business is tripling. The business is doing fantastic from a numbers perspective, but because there's no strategy and there's no plan in place, we become reactive as owners. And I say we because I do the same thing. And if you don't have a strategy in place, you will become reactive. When I go into a turnaround, one of the biggest things I'm looking for is, was this a strategic plan as part of growth? Because like, we're going to grow next year. Fantastic. You need to know how much. Like, how much are you going to grow? What is that going to require in the form of assets, new team members, training, systems, procedures? These are the type of things you have to think about. Otherwise, you will become reactive even if the business is doing well. Here's the thing. The question is, should I set little goals or should I set these massive goals? Now, in my opinion, I hate missing goals. Okay. Now, I don't like to set goals that are easily achievable, but I do not want to set the culture of my company to be that we miss targets. Targets, it is inexcusable to not hit your target. And when we set a target, it is not a target unless we are trying to achieve it. And if it's just this nebulous, like I hope it happens, that does absolutely nothing for the business. Having a target and then working backwards from the target to where you are today, and then being able to determine how far off you are from the trajectory of hitting that target is an actual measurable goal that you can hit. And so if you don't have the strategy and the plan in place to actually hit the target, then usually it's a wild ankle guess, as Jim Collins calls it in his book, Good to Great. You're just like throwing a number out there. You have no idea whatsoever. And I see people do this all the time when it comes to goals, when it comes to planning, and when it comes to strategic growth. Is like, how much are you going to grow next year? Well, let me see. Last year, we went from 200,000 to 500,000. So this year, because last year we more than doubled, this year we're going to go from 500,000 to $1 million. Fantastic. How is that going to happen? Where are those customers coming from? Who are you going to hire to double the output of your labor? Are you going to need management? Are you going to have to move your shop? Will you need a new insurance provider? Will you need to change your service mix? Will you need to change your promotions? Will your website need to be changed? What will your day look like as the owner of a business that is $1 million versus where it is today? These things are not thought about. We think about one thing and one thing only, unfortunately, in this. And I say we because like I do this too. Okay. In the home service industries, we think about one number when it comes to goals. And it's like, how big are we going to become next year? We don't think about all the other downstream effects. It's the equivalent of saying that's the target and I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to get from here to there, but that's somehow I'm going to end up over there. It's like saying, well, I'm going to Mexico, so I'm just going to head south. Okay, fantastic. But there's a lot of other things we need to know about, because if I don't have a map, if I don't have a GPS, I will get lost along the way. You say, oh no, I just hit I-5 and I go straight down there. What happens if there's a detour, i.e. an employee leaves? What happens if a big contract's lost? What if all of a sudden I-5 gets closed down and you've got to take 10, 15, 20 miles off course? That's where we all trip up. And the vast majority of us have the goal of heading south, i.e. growing our business. And we somehow think we're going to reach Mexico, when in reality, we need to have a plan, a strategy, and a map in place to be able to follow and constantly track our progress. Because if you're one degree off from your target right now, as we start 2024, you will end off dozens of feet away from the target. If you're shooting a gun and you're just 1 degree off, you shoot and we're just 1 degree off. It's a tiny, tiny little bit. You go 300 yards down the range, and all of a sudden you're way off target. And so what you want to do is constantly monitoring how close am I to the strategy and the plan I have in place to get from January 1 of 2024 to when I wake up in December 30th, 2024, that I've actually hit the target. Because I need to be able to monitor all along the way and have a plan in place and the map to actually get and hit the goal. So I'm not a fan, personally, of missing goals. I don't want that to be the culture of the business. I would rather have slightly smaller goals that I know I can hit, work my way backwards, and then if I know I'm going to just demolish the goal, like double it, I can course correct middle of the year, middle of the month, middle of the week, if I have certain goals that I'm just completely demolishing. But I don't want to miss goals. I hate missing goals. I like goals are meant to be accomplished. They are not meant to just encourage and inspire you. Because guess what? If that's the only way you have, you're the only one being inspired. Your team isn't. They don't have a way to be able to determine whether every single day they are performing well because they don't have a measurable target that they are trying to go toward. They don't have a GPS, a map that they can compare themselves to and tells them how far they are away from where they should be going. So that brings up the question, well, what about big, hairy, audacious goals? Because also in Jim Collins' book, he talks about these. And unfortunately, the big, hairy, audacious goals has taken the place of strategic planning, in my opinion. When I ask most owners what they want the business to do, they have a big, hairy, audacious goal. They do not have a strategic plan on how they're going to get there. I really believe that anything beyond 3 years in terms of planning is basically a wild ankle guess. Because in 3 years, you don't know what's going to happen. Guess what? 3 years ago, we were in the middle of a pandemic. 3 years ago, everything was 15 to 20% cheaper because of inflation, and probably 40% or so less in terms of labor cost. These are the type of things you are not going to be able to project on a 5, 10, 15-year plan. I want to be clear. When they talk about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals in these books that we so love, they're talking about a 15 to 20-year goal for the business. So your big, hairy, audacious goal can be big. But you got to have a plan on how you're going to get there. And if you want to work from 20 years backwards, fantastic. I just believe that you're really anything beyond 3 years, you're really it's just not super useful. All right. Have a plan of where the big, hairy, audacious goal is going to be, but then focus on where do I turn left and right today? If I just know I'm going to Mexico and that's my big, hairy, audacious goal, that's fantastic. But I need to know how to turn left and right and get to the highway. And then when there's a detour, I need to know how to turn. Just knowing the big, hairy, audacious goal is not enough to accomplish it. You need the tactile, day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year strategic plan that, in my opinion, is different than a big, hairy, audacious goal. And we have substituted planning and strategy for BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. All right, so let's talk about a few things. All right, if you have been with me so far, there's 265 people here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Grab some water. Make sure if you haven't already, MikeAndes.com/free plan. We're going to be using it in just a few minutes, but I want to go over some very important things first. Grab some water. Let's go. First off, you got to map the metrics. Okay, so if we're creating a goal, we're creating a strategic plan to get somewhere, these are some of the metrics you might want to track. The equivalent to making sure before you go on a road trip that you check the PSI, air pressure, of your tires. You make sure that you have windshield fluid. You make sure that you have enough gas in the tank, that you have an oil change. Those are all the metrics required to get from point A to point B on a road trip. When it comes to getting from point A, where you are at today, to where you want to go in your business, you also need to map the metrics. All right. Along this journey, we're going to be traveling X thousand miles. Fantastic. When will I need to recharge or fuel up my vehicle? Let's go ahead and map that. This is the type of thing you'll need to do for your goal and for your strategic planning is how much cash on hand. Okay, let me try to point to this. Wait, no, it's this way. Sorry. Cash on hand, marketing budget, the number of hires you're going to need to accomplish these revenue goals, the number, if I come up with it, the number of hires, number of trucks, what profit you're going to be making on the business, and your CapEx. That's your capital expenditures. What are you going to need to buy in the form of trucks, equipment, potentially land or shop space? These are things that need to be measured. along the journey to your goal. These are just a few of them. You get very, very granular in terms of what other metrics you should be tracking. Okay. Just think about all the metrics that go into a road trip, a trip on an airplane, a trip across, an ocean. There are so many things that are planned for. How much food are we going to have? How much cash do I need to have? Do I need to have a different type of currency? Does my SIM card work? All these different things that we are going to track and measure and check on throughout our journey. But yet, when it comes to our business and we have a destination, a goal in mind, we somehow just blindly start moving towards it. And I say we because I do this too. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. It's just a broad generalization for what I see in the home service industries. And I think we can really improve in this area. So these are just a few of the metrics you'll want to track as you are moving through towards your goals. Now, in my opinion, there's no reason to work forwards, to move in a linear path towards your goal. You should work backwards from where you want to be back to where you are today. So the question is more a matter of, is this a reasonable goal? Well, let's work backwards from where we want to head, where we're going. Okay, I want to head to Mexico. I'm 1,000 miles away. I'm going to have to work backwards from how many miles am I going to have to fuel up? How many miles is it from the border of Mexico to where my final destination is? I'm working backwards to determine how much fuel I'm going to need. How long is it going to take me? Work backwards from your goal. And then this is what's really cool. You can determine if your goal isn't realistic based upon working backwards. Is it realistic that you go from 200,000 to $1 million in revenue? Absolutely. I am going to crush it. I'm going to 10x, baby. 10x this bad boy. Okay, fantastic. Have we thought about how much capital is going to be required for capital expenditures? If I go back here, have we thought about what our profit margin is going to be? How many new trucks are we going to need? How many people are we going to have to hire? The fact is, at 200,000, you probably have one person working for you. At $1 million, you probably have 10 to 15 people working for you. Plus, you have admin and office staff that are going to increase your overhead expense. These are things that are not thought about. And so let's work our way backwards from our goal and start to strategically plan back to the present day to actually figure out whether or not this goal is achievable. All right, here's another thing I want you to think about, because we all get wrapped up at the end of the year, especially because most home service industries, we have a decent amount of capital right now. So this is what happens. If you haven't already spent your money because you're trying to do Section 179 and get out of all your taxes, this is what starts to become a lot of people's goals. And that is adding new services, adding more trucks and equipment, adding more employees. And I'm not opposed to any of those, but I would encourage you to think about amplifying what you currently have in terms of assets, what you currently have in terms of team members and employees, what you currently have in terms of your service mix, what you currently have in terms of your service area. I would look at those things first. So instead of digging a bunch of little holes, just focus on one hole and go get yourself an excavator. So a lot of times when people think about planning, I hear this all the time. Oh, I'm going to add this specific service to my business. I am going to expand into this other market. By the way, the two least profitable ways to grow your home service business, in my opinion, is add more services and increase your geographical service area. Okay. So what we constantly are doing so many of the times is we're digging all these little holes. We go from one service to the other service and like, oh, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to hire this employee and then this employee. No, let's take our current team. Let's make them more efficient. Let's institute a system like P for P, pay for performance, the excavator, and get more out of this one hole, what we currently have. Instead of going around, bouncing around, getting, I get only more employees. I should find a general manager. I need an office manager. You just constantly are going around instead of like, first thinking about how do I amplify what I currently have? How do I take the assets that I currently have, the trucks that I currently have, and utilize them far more often throughout the week? So many of the times I see these businesses and they have 5-10 employees, they have 5-10 trucks, and I show up and there's 4 trucks sitting in the shop all the time. That's poor asset utilization. And yet I look at their goals and their plans. They're like, well, I'm going to get more trucks and I need some more equipment. It's like, whoa. Let's amplify instead of thinking about new things. So often the times when it comes to goals and planning, we think about new services, new trucks, new employees, new shop space, new service area, new shop. I'm going to get another shop. I'm going to get another. When we just need to take what we currently have and amplify it. We need to take the current services, instead of thinking about all these other services we could sell our customers. That's what you call a cross sell. Why don't we focus on upselling them what services we currently have and be able to increase their lifetime value or annual value of that customer without having to go buy all those CapEx? Well, I'm going to buy more trucks, buy more equipment, hire more employees, train them on new services, get more registration, get new licensing, increase our insurance. Why? Because we added new services instead of taking the services we currently have and amplifying them. How do we take let's just use a service of mowing, okay? How do I get more mowing customers? I would ideally, in your plan, want you to highlight that versus, well, I'm going to take my 100 mowing customers. I'm going to try to sell them window washing. I'm going to sell them pressure washing. I'm going to try to get janitorial service in the winter. Like, I would rather you focus on amplifying your 100 customers into 300 customers and tripling your business instead of trying to think about all the new things you're going to do. And I just use services as an example. I'm not opposed to adding more services. There's definitely a place for them when it comes to seasonality, especially. There's certain lulls that you will want to use other services to be able to keep the business profitable year round. However, I constantly see people thinking that a new service, a new employee, a new service area, a new something in their business is going to change everything. And they put that in their planning when in reality, if they just focus on what they currently have and amplify it and get the big bad excavator, they make way more progress. All right, here is a quotable quote here on Saturday, December the 30th. All right, grab some water. Let's read this together. The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. From Michael Porter. He has a fantastic first name and a great quote. The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. And so often the times, back to our slide, the little shovel versus the excavator, we are constantly thinking about the new instead of what we should not be doing. I get very excited when people start cutting things out of their business. Simplify, standardize, remove areas of the business that are redundant and are causing operational drag. Those things are many times where the greatest profits are formed and realized is when you cut things out, when you focus on what you're currently doing instead of some new initiative. All right, example for Mike, because Mike has to eat some humble pie. I'm cutting out multiple little side hustles and side things I've done for a long time. Last year, I sold off like 2022. Last year, I sold off half of my real estate portfolio, in part because a lot of those ones had appreciated a lot and I need money for the headquarters, but also to focus on the businesses. This year, we closed down lawn care business for sale. Why? Because people were starting to get litigious with me based upon what other people were posting, even though it was free. I never made a single penny. Cost me a lot of money. So I closed the thing down. Got to focus on the business. Why? Focusing on amplifying Augusta and Copilot instead of getting distracted with new things that are good and fine and help people, but doesn't actually drive the business results that if I just focus on what is currently there and amplify those results. Okay, we cut out, it's very sad, Built for Business. That was a thing I created a year ago with my trainer to be able to sell to business owners how to do health, nutrition, and their workouts. Fantastic. I use it. I have good results. I started a year ago. Guess what? It was new and exciting and flashy. And guess what? It has to get chopped because I need to focus on amplification instead of new. Okay. So I'm eating humble pie. I expect you to be able to do the same thing in your own business. And that is, what are the things that are distracting you? And they're new and they're exciting. But if you just focus on what you currently have and amplify those employees, like pour more into your existing employees instead of focusing on hiring new ones. If you poured more into your existing customers instead of going out and getting new ones, i.e. doing upsells and one-click estimate emails instead of spending money on advertising. These are the type of things that you can do to amplify your results instead of always focusing on new. All right. Sequencing matters, baby. When it comes to your plan, sequence matters. This would be the equivalent of having all the directions driving to Mexico in your on a list, and then being like, oh yeah, I have all the directions. Oh, actually, I have them on index cards. And then you just shuffle up the index cards. Yes, you're right. You do have all the ingredients to be able to get to Mexico and all the turn-by-turn directions. But if they're not in the right order, they mean absolutely nothing. And if you get one turn-by-turn direction out of order, it could put you in a completely different continent. Well, not continent. Country. You could end up in Canada if you turn left instead of right at the incorrect time. So not only is your goal and your plan important, is the sequence of that plan that is very important. This is called right time, right action. Okay. There's a lot of times when I'm making any decision, I run this through my head. It's like right time, right action. RT, right time, right action. Is this the right time for the right action and the right action? Because you could have the right time and the wrong action, right? Good timing, bad action. Or you get to do what's right, the right action at the wrong time. Like, yes, you're supposed to turn left 2 hours ago. Okay, so you got to have the sequence of events in order to make your plan effective. Okay, and I like the roadmap analogy because it makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to get somewhere. If my sequence of my steps to get to my goal is not in the correct sequence, I can end up a very wrong place. So right time, right action. Very important as you're moving towards your goals. This is how I think about it. All right. All good things start with a pyramid. So here we go. On the bottom, we have goals and objectives. In the middle, we have strategy. And on the top, we have mission and vision. Now, in my opinion, a lot of us have goals and objectives. A lot of them have a mission and a vision for our business. And very, very few of us have the strategy to link the two together. In my opinion, the strategy, if missing, the mission will not be accomplished. We will focus most of our time on goals and objectives, and we will wonder why we never reach the goal and vision is because we lack the strategy to link the two together. And some people are saying, well, I thought goals and strategy are the same thing. They're not. Okay. So all the objectives, all the stuff that we're doing every single day, we get busy in this, we set goals. You need to have a strategy in place to link up to the vision and mission of the business. Let me explain this a little bit easier using the analogies we've used so far. So the goals, let's start from the top. Where are we going? Okay, we're going to Mexico. Sorry, I keep pointing at my screen as if you guys can see. Over on the right hand of your screen, you're gonna see Mexico. Okay, that's where we're going. That's the mission. That's the vision of the business, the mission of this trip. The strategy is, how are we going to get there? Well, we're gonna use a plane. You could use a car. Like, this is the strategy for how are we going to get there. Now, the goals and objectives are, what are we going to get there? What are we going to do to get there? These are the tactics, okay? For example, I've got to have some luggage. I've got to buy myself the ticket before I get on the plane. I've got to drive to the airport. I've got to pack pesos, currency. I've got to make sure my phone has a SIM card. Like, these are all the goals and objectives that have to be achieved in order to be able to get on, how are we going to get the plane? Okay. And so a lot of times I see people have goals and objectives. They have all the tactics of how they think they're going to be able to reach the vision and mission, their big, hairy, audacious goal, but they lack this one key thing. That's a strategy. How are we going to get there? They have the ticket, they have the currency, they have the cell phone, they have everything right. They got their luggage in hand, but they lack the strategy, i.e. in this case, the airplane, to get to their mission and vision. And that is why, and when I say the vast majority, over 90% of small businesses fail within their first 10 years. Therefore, I can confidently say the vast majority of small business owners never reach the mission and vision of their business. And in my opinion, it's because they don't have this key middle part, and it is strategy. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started on strategy. And as I was thinking about it just right now, someone's like, well, strategy was execution, eat strategy for breakfast. I agree, but you won't know what to execute on if you don't have a strategy. All right. And you will be spinning your wheels, not knowing where you're going. And so strategy is important. Although, yes, I agree. Execution is extremely important as well. Okay. Now we need a volunteer. So 1 second here. Let me get myself a volunteer. I need someone that needs, let's see here. Is someone willing to hop on? If you're leaving right now, this is a wrong time to leave. We're just about to get in the good stuff. Is there someone willing to hop on via video with me, and I will fill this out for you, because I could do a hypothetical But if I have someone that's willing to actually use their business and walk through the vision map with me, this will be much, much more helpful. Okay. So if you're willing to hop on here and do this with me, please make it in the comments known. And then I will need to send you a link. Okay. So just say like, hey, I'm willing to volunteer, something along those lines. And we can connect here. Okay. So let me see here. Who here would want me to fill out? We're going to do a 3-year vision and we're going to do the 1-year plan. And so if you are willing to do that, please in the comments, hit me up and say exactly where, if you are willing to volunteer. Okay, let me see here. Okay. All right. Dylan. Okay, there's a whole bunch of people. Mercy. Oh, wow. I just saw. Okay, Mercy, goodness. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to do Dylan because I have Dylan's email. All right, Dylan. All right, Dylan, I'm sending you an email link. I need you to open up and we're going to go through this. Email sent. Boom. All right. Dylan's going to hop in here live and we're going to start filling this out. Now, if you haven't already, please go download this. This is mikeandys.com/free plan. Print it off, use an iPad. We're going to fill this out and you're going to use your examples. Okay. And your numbers and your stuff. But I want to go over this with someone with a real business. Some of you know Dylan. He was on recently on the Turnaround Show. So it's actually kind of perfect. You all kind of know a little bit about him. So let's go ahead and I'm just waiting for him to hop in here. Okay, Dylan, I'm waiting on you. Don't disappoint me. Okay, while we're waiting for him to come in, I will say this. If you're wanting to join Copilot, this is the last chance you can get the price lock guarantee for the end of 2023. So if you join in 2023, you get a price lock guarantee at the enterprise level. Which means your price will never go up. The prices for Copilot are going up in January. So if you would like to avoid that and you're thinking about joining, just join today or tomorrow so you can lock that in. It is lifetime. As long as you stay inside the enterprise level, you will forever only be charged $249. It is going up next week. Okay. And it is going to go up consistently as we add more value, just the same way that I would encourage you to raise your prices as you increase value to your customers. Okay, we are having a problem, Dylan. I am not seeing you and I'm stalling. So let's see here. 1 second. Dylan. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's hopping in. Okay, I stalled well enough. He is hopping in. He's getting situated, looks like. Okay, so again, if you are thinking about joining Copilot CRM, please do that today or tomorrow. So that way you can get the price lock guarantee. This is my way of saying thank you to everyone that has joined early. When we, especially earlier this year, we're not ready. We had just a lot more bugs, etc. So I really do appreciate it. And I highly recommend checking out the main, if you haven't watched this main video on copilotcrm.com. All right, Dylan is in the house. I'm going to switch it over to Dylan here. Dylan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going, Mike?
Pretty fantastic. 1 second here. Do you have your computer or something that you can see that PDF?
Let me see. I think so.
If not, it's fine because I'll share it on the screen here.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to share it on the screen there, that might help.
Great. Okay, here we go. I'm going to add this one. Here we go. Oh yeah, look at this. We are rolling.
All right, cool.
Okay, so everyone in the comments, make sure that you have downloaded this and are able to, let's see here. Very good. Cool. That is over there. Okay, so business name. Let's start at the top here. This is the 3-year vision. This is page 1. What's your business name, Mr. Dylan Moye?
Say that again, Mike. Sorry.
What was your business name?
Urban Roots Landscaping.
All right, here we go. Urban Roots. Cool. Today is 12/30/23. Okay, so what we are going to do on your 3-year vision map is, first and foremost, let's fill out where we're at today. Okay, so annual revenue for 2020, let's just call it 2023. Dylan, what do you think you're going to be at?
Roughly 750, between 7 and 750.
Okay, let's see here. Let's do 750,000. And what do you think is profit going to be for 2023?
Profit. Oh, geez. I think we talked about this before. I haven't seen the. Do you recall from our Zoom call what the profits were at the time?
It was like 34, 35,000.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Dylan, you're chopping up. I think you're leaving your Wi-Fi. Okay, well, we're gonna put
Oh, no.
35K. You're good. I can see you.
And
You're
I
good.
also just got word my wife is, she just walked in. I hate to do this. I may have to abort mission. She's got a fever. So I'm going to take over with the kiddos.
Okay, you go ahead. I'll get someone else in the comments. You're totally fine.
Yes. Sorry, Mike. Yeah, I got to take care of
You're
those
fine.
kiddos. Okay.
You're good. All right. All right. Dylan has aborted the mission. All right. So let's see here. 1 second. Okay. I think someone else left their email in here. Okay. I'm trying to scroll back here. Let's see here. Phil Whitman. Let's do a pool service. That will be fun. Okay. Phil, I'm going to send you a link. All right, everyone. Pause. All right. Phil at pro act. Oh, it's proactive. Typing on 2 different screens. This is weird. Pool solutions. All right, Phil, you're coming up. I sure hope you're ready. Sending you the link. Video. Boom. Proactive pool solutions. All right. Phil, I just sent you an email. We had Dylan. He bailed on us. We got to take care of the kiddos. So we're going to erase this off of this here. Phil, I'm going to stall for you for about 5 seconds. All right. So don't disappoint me. Show up in the room so we can get this started. Let's see here. What else can I talk about? Okay, look at this. Copilot. I'm stalling, Phil. I need you in the room as fast as possible. Okay. I did want to go over like the whole reason Copilot exists is to put pressure on a lot of the software industry that I don't think is building really great solutions for home service businesses in comparison to like HubSpot, Salesforce, etc. And so this, for example, is the stuff that we've done in Copilot in 2023. So support stuff. We have daily live streams. We have Zoom support now, phone support, Copilot University. We now have air traffic control, which is like our support chat. It says 60 plus hours on here. We've now increased that. So we have Saturday and Sundays and weekend hours. So I think we're open like 84 hours or 85 hours a week now for support chat. Also, we have private live streams. So I had one this morning with all the members going over what we did this week and then what's going to be coming up next week and do Q&A. As well as we added the flight log where you can actually see every single ticket. So when you submit a bug, you actually can see where it's at in the process of development before it gets deployed. So that we added that as well. Okay, infrastructure. We switched over to AWS, immediately led to about a 30% increase in our page load time, and it will allow us to scale up without slowing down the system. Phil, I sure hope you're hopping on a computer because I'm waiting on you, brother. And then we are working right now in the offline mode of the app. So that way employees can still clock time, add notes, add pictures to a visit, and it won't, and even if they're offline. So like a bad cell service spot, stuff like that. Features that we added. Okay, look at this. Phil is in the house. Thank you. Thank you for this little sponsored spot. Phil, are you ready? Are we going to have fever on the kids or anything like that?
Here we go.
Can you hear me?
I'm trying
there
to
we
find.
go.
Yeah, there we go.
We're alive.
We're
okay,
alive.
so first thing is, do we have any kids that are going to have fever?
I do have kids, but they're all good.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and open this up. This will be fun. So what's the name of the business? Is it Proactive Pool Service?
Proactive Pool Solutions. Yep.
All right, and so your revenue for 2023, approximately, what do you think that was?
612,073.
All right, so we're going to use 612. And what do you think roughly your profit was for 2023?
After my salary, we're going to be like -10, but including my salary, it's about 90.
Okay, so let's just put 0 for now because I like to include the owner's salary in that equation. All right, now let's look out 3 years from now. What do you kind of want the business to look like? Kind of like your big, hairy, audacious goal, maybe. Like, what's sort of the trajectory in terms of revenue and profit? Are you thinking?
Yeah, BHAG, we're looking to grow up above $1 million a year. Basically, our goal is to have multiple locations in the Raleigh area. So growing to multiple locations, probably right now we're serving about 130 clients, probably up to about 500.
Okay, so we want to go from 300, 500 clients.
No, 130 to 500.
Oh, got it. You're at 130 now. Okay. And so in terms of revenue, is that like 1.5? You said over $1 million. What's that look like in 3 years?
In 3 years, I mean, at 500, if we hit our 500 goal, that's about, hang on, that's like 2.25 per year.
Okay. So let's do 2.25 million. And what do you want to profit off of that 2.25 million? Take home after your salary.
Let's say 360, about 15%.
Okay. Perfect. Cool. So now let's think about revenues for 2024, 2025. Cool. So we know we're at 612. We've got to get to 2.25 in the next 3 years. Very ambitious. Let's work our way backwards. For 2025, what are we thinking in terms of revenue and profit? Just hit me with numbers.
2025, probably like 1.5.
Okay. And then what were we thinking in terms of profit? At that rate of growth, you're probably going to be investing quite a bit, just FYI.
Yeah. So we'll probably be closer to like 100,000.
Okay. All right. Let's move back to 2024. What's our annual revenue going to look like?
Probably
this coming year.
900,000.
Okay. Great. And then what's your profit going to be looking like for next year?
Call it 60.
Okay. Perfect. All right. I'm going to change colors of my pen here. Bam. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a strategy for getting there. So for this coming year, today. Okay, great. So in 2023, what was kind of like the main contributions of your growth this year, do you think?
We spent a ton on advertising this year. So Google ads, that was our biggest kind of growth expense.
And what was that advertising budget you think for 2023?
We spent about 18,000.
Okay. Mostly on Google?
Yeah, 18,000 on Google, and then probably another 2,000 in paper and print and stuff like that. So probably 20,000 total.
Okay. All right. And then what else this year was kind of the main contributors? And again, when we think about the strategies that we're putting here, this is like systems, marketing, sales, services that you might have added, your close ratio, any key hires you had, anything like that.
Yeah. So we basically promoted from within, got one of my guys into a more general manager position, got me out of the field more, and got us to kind of give me more time to focus on growth and sales and getting out.
Very cool. All right. Anything else specifically this year that kind of helped you get to that spot?
Nothing that comes straight up, like nothing off the top of my head.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so I wrote down here, just for everyone trying to follow along, kind of stuff that was prior to today. What I'm going to focus on now, though, is going from today to year number 1. So what is going to change in terms of advertising, hiring, et cetera? Because you are literally planning to grow about 50%, or about 300,000 in 2024.
Yeah, so the big change that we're making is we're incentivizing our guys to bring on new leads in the areas they're already in.
Okay, so can we say route density?
What's that?
Can we say route density for that?
Yeah, route density is our biggest goal. Yep.
Okay, cool. And what are you doing to do that? You said that you're getting the guys to try to get more jobs in those areas. Are you doing door hangers?
Door hangers, 5 rounds. Our goal, our plan is to actually create a more of like official sales team where we have younger guys going around hitting doors just as that's their only job.
Okay, so sales team, fantastic. Okay, cool. What else are we going to do to get an extra 300 grand this coming year?
Probably reinvesting with advertising and stuff. Still putting money in.
Okay, so growing 50%. Do you think there's going to be any changes to your role, the general manager's role, or was that something that more recently you got the GM hired? So you think that's going to allow the expansion?
Exactly. Yep. That was our plan, was to kind of open up space for me to focus on strategy and expansion. Getting him taking over 99% of the day to day is what our goal was there.
Okay, so we can say that he's going to take over ops.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, good. All right. So that's going to get us to 900,000. Now we're talking going from, the year following, which is 2025. So what are we going to do going from year 1 to year 2 to go from 900,000 to 1.5 million? Because now we're going to be increasing by $600,000. So what's that going to look like?
So big thing that we're trying to do this year is stack cash. We can handle the growth without investing anything in equipment or anything like that. No extra trucks, anything like that. So we're trying to stack that cash that we were normally putting into getting trucks and stuff. We're going to stack that to kind of hit the ground running in 2025 to invest a ton of money into equipment and stuff.
Okay, so how many more trucks do you think you'd have to purchase going into 2025?
So going into 2025, we'll need another 4 trucks.
Okay. And then how much more equipment in terms of cost do you think?
It's about 5,000 per truck, so 20 grand.
Any other equipment though, or when you say the 20 grand
No,
per
that's
truck? Oh,
that's
I see. 20 grand additional. Got it.
yeah, on top of the truck. Yep.
Plus 20.
So 4 trucks plus 20 grand for equipment.
Gotcha. All right. What else are we changing going into that year?
That's gonna be so we'll probably have to have another layer of management. I would say we're gonna bring on another 4 techs. So probably have like two guys under my GM. So bringing people up, paying them a bit more, but that's basically the plan. Bring people in, so that we can grow there.
Going to 1.5, you're basically going to be more than double, almost triple your current size. Will you have to change shop spaces? Any other adding more services, anything to get there, or basically staying the same?
No, basically staying the same. So we're distributed network right now. We don't have a shop. We could definitely benefit. It starts to make more sense once we have more and more trucks to have a shop space. But right now we're distributed. Guys take the trucks home. We hit distributors in the morning when we need to. But yeah, we're distributed. So that's about it.
In terms of marketing for that second year, what are you thinking?
Probably twice as much as we did the year before. So probably 40 grand, something like that.
Okay, so we got a 40K marketing budget. Great. Okay, I forgot on the last going in 2024. What is cash on hand currently looking like?
Like 30 grand.
Okay. So very good. Yeah, so definitely, obviously, a bit of a cash crunch. That much growth is going to be tough. Are you taking on any loans to get the 4 trucks?
Haven't planned it. This again is loose plans.
Yep.
But we'll probably have to. Yeah.
Okay.
The
and
only
then go ahead.
Go ahead.
The only what? Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, the only thing we'd probably need the debt for is the trucks, and we always buy used 5-6-year-old trucks. So we've paid cash in the past, but that's probably what we'll do.
What do those trucks usually run you? Like 30 grand, 20 grand?
No, we usually find them under 15.
Okay. So
Yeah, the most we've ever paid is 16.5. So they're usually about 12 is what we run.
Okay. So end of 2024. So as we're kind of getting towards the end of next year, what's our cash position going to be kind of looking like?
At the end of 2024, we're gonna need probably 100 grand.
Okay. Okay, so that's gonna be your cash on hand, and that's gonna fuel us going into 2025. Going all of 25 to going into 2026. So our third year now. What's our cash on hand gonna be looking like at that perspective, you think?
At the end of 2025, in order to grow another 700,000, we're gonna have to get probably another 4 or 5 trucks again. So same investment basically.
Okay. So probably still 50K there.
Yeah, and this is assuming as we scale, density gets better, so our numbers get better. It's a couple assumptions.
Okay. And so at a $2.25 million business, what's the goal for cash on hand, like money in the bank?
I mean, I think we'd have to have 250 in the bank.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Anything else going from 1.5 that 2.25? Is that when you're going to do the multiple locations? I assume we kind of have some metrics in terms of clients. Anything
Yeah.
else for that third year?
I mean, I think the plan for us is going to be split before we get to that. So kind of break up our um, current office basically and split it into 2 locations so that we can kind of continue scaling and continue making density better as we go.
Okay. And are you going to, when you split, are you going to have your GM become, take
Yeah.
the one location? Okay. Got it. Okay.
So
Okay.
either bring GM to regional or have him take one and bring up another one. I'm not 100% sure on that yet.
Got it. All right. So now for everyone watching, we're going to go to your 1-year plan. Right now, we know we have $30,000 cash on hand. We're
Yep.
trying to get to 100,000. We also know that when we look back at the last year, we are going from like, what's your monthly revenue looking like right now? Like just kind of as an average. I guess you could
Yeah,
say
so
50,000. Like as an
50,000 is
average.
what we did this last month. This season we got up to 87 was our highest.
Okay.
And
I'm
that,
going to average it out just so we can actually put a number here.
yeah, 50K.
So at 900,000, that means we're going to need to do basically 75K a month. Perfect. And if we're trying to get 60,000 profit, we can assume then that we're going to be trying to get 5K in profit per month. All right. Cool. All right. So let's work our way backwards on this one as well. So this is now Q4 of 2024. Because we know we're going to be growing by basically 50%. You said though that we didn't really need to buy anything. Is that correct?
Yeah, for
Trucks
this
and
next
equipment?
year, we have 5 trucks and we're very underutilized right now, so we don't need to buy
Okay.
anything next year.
Fantastic. That means we can basically run this through. For anyone watching though, you need to make sure that your capital expenditures lines up with what your revenue is going up. Like if you're trying to double or triple, don't think you're not going to have to buy some trucks, equipment, etc. And furthermore, that needs to line up with this part on the bottom, which is your cash on hand. And this is also going to be affected by seasonality. So for example, Phil, going to spring, we've got to go from 30,000 to 100,000. What do you think that's going to look like in Q2 and Q3?
Q2 is our most profitable. This past year we did 10 or 12K in profit a month for March, April, May.
Okay. So in terms of cash in the bank at the end of Q2, you thinking like 75, 80,000, hopefully?
Yeah, end of Q2. We want to be more than halfway to that. So
Perfect. Okay. And then I'm just going to put 90,000 for Q3.
Yep.
Seems pretty doable. So really Q2 is where you make a lot of your money then. That's just
Yep.
kind of your spring rush, I assume. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So monthly revenues, you said that you get as high as like 80 something thousand. I'm assuming monthly revenue for Q2 is going to be probably 110, 120 this year.
Yeah. Yep. Should be around there.
Okay. We're averaging this out. That's the problem with doing this the way I did it, where I averaged everything out. But let's do this. Instead of using the 50,000 down here, like this month, you did say it was around 50,000 though, right?
Yeah. This month was 49.
Got it. Okay. So monthly revenue Q2 is 120. What do you think it happened like Q3? What did that kind of look like usually?
Yeah. It'll probably drop down to like 100. And then our third quarter, we have another pop. So it's probably right back up to 120, 130. And then probably back down. Yeah, Q4 is probably back down to 75.
Perfect. Okay, so in terms of profit, we got 12,000 in the spring. I'm going to guess that Q3 isn't super profitable, so we're probably looking at like a few $1,000s in profit per month there.
Historically, it hasn't been Q2 is our most profitable. Q3 is not as profitable, and then Q4 is in between those two. So
Got it. Okay, so we could go. I'm just looking at how much cash we have on hand. That's really what
Yep.
I'm targeting.
Yeah.
So even this one, like if you're actually trying to put $50,000 in the bank, you really got to put more like 16, 17K in profit there
per month.
Yep, going into Q2. And then let's see what we got here. We got let's just do 2K, because that will actually even out like 3K, I guess. So perfect. Okay, so the story basically for everyone listening is like you're gonna work backwards from now the goals, right? So we got 3-year plan, kind of where we're trying to head. We're trying to have multiple locations, a general manager that runs a location. But now we got to think about, okay, what's the revenues? That's gonna drive a lot of what you gotta do in terms of hiring, what you gotta do in terms of capital expenditures. How much money in the bank is really important, because if Phil would have told me that he needs to buy 3 trucks this quarter, we'd have a problem, because now all of a sudden we'd have 40K as capital expenditures and we'd run out of money. And so this is why it's important to not just have a plan in terms of revenue, but all the other indicators that we've been talking about. So fortunately for Phil, the reason I think that you will become significantly more profitable in the next year or two is because you don't have any capital expenditure. You're going to use your existing trucks so much more efficiently, i.e. grow the business by 50% without buying another truck. Fantastic. All right. We're basically not profitable there, so I'll put a 0 there. Cool. All right. This Q1, what are we thinking in terms of systems, marketing, what's changing? And some of that will be kind of reflective of what we've already talked about, which is right here.
Yeah, so Q1 is we're gonna be putting in that sales team. That's our goal. Switching over to Copilot is also in Q1. The getting everything over. So tapping.
What does that sales team look like? Is that someone going full time, door knocking? Like what's that looking like?
Yeah, that's the plan, is going full time, maybe part time to start. But me and my business partner are fiddling around, but going to be a 1099 or a W-2. But that's where we're at right now, trying to figure out what that looks like. But yeah, the goal is to have somebody dedicated to just do door hangers, getting out, talking to people, and getting out and actually bringing new clients in full time.
How many new hires are we thinking because we got to ramp up for Q2? So like, I'm assuming you hire them in Q1.
Yep. Yeah. So Q1, we're going to hire 2 new techs and hopefully a sales guy. That's the plan.
Okay. So that's 1 hire. So you got 1 hire for sales team, 2 new techs. What else? I know the GM, is he starting to take over operations, or is he already kind of rolling in that regard?
No, he's rolling. Yeah. So we had our 3rd baby. So that was the whole plan, is get him taking over most of the thing. What I'm doing now is payroll, all the back end stuff, not answering phones and stuff, but doing the back end business stuff.
Anything else like close ratio targets you need to hit? Or
Yeah,
like
close ratio
route density you're trying to do?
Yep, close ratio has been a big focus. Last year we were like 30-40%. So we're trying to focus on improving that system to kind of have more personal touches in the beginning once the estimates go out. Our 2 big focuses are close ratio and route density, because our route density is terrible right now as it stands.
You mentioned personal touch to increase the close ratio. What specifically are you doing to increase the personal touch?
So like personal phone calls. Like right now we use 20 days to close follow-up estimate emails, but we don't do the phone calls. So getting actually on the phone with people, trying to close a few more of those deals that are people just looking for numbers that we can actually get in and close those.
Okay, perfect. All right, so Q2 is your crazy time. What are some of the main things you need to focus on during that time? Is that when you spend most of your marketing dollars?
Yeah, yep. 90% of our marketing's March to June. Sorry.
Okay, so 90% of what are we thinking? Like 20 grand?
20 grand. Yep.
Okay, and that's going to Google again?
Yeah, historically, that's what we've done.
Okay. All right. What else needs to happen during that kind of spring rush for you?
I mean, the big things are just closing edits, getting our follow-ups, getting people onboarded. That's the big kind of hiccup that we run into, is getting people onboarded.
Is that customers or is that employees when you say onboarding?
Clients is what I'm thinking of. We have a pretty good training for actual employees. We've got a whole system baked in for that already. But onboarding clients, when we're bringing on 5, 6, 7, 8 a week, that's what our kind of constraint is there.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, this past year, what was 2022 revenue versus 2023? I know 2023 was 612. What was 2022?
Last year was 562.
Okay. So this is this is the big thing is like, so last year
Yep.
was 5 something. This is 6. We grew maybe 15 to 20%.
Yep.
And so I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the salesperson is really the main thing that you're going to lean on to
Yeah.
drive this kind of growth, as well as increasing close ratio.
Leads, incoming, and close ratios are the biggest constraints. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And in terms of pricing, do we need to raise prices, or is that going to be on the back burner until we have more volume?
We're trying to avoid cutting prices because, like I said, our close ratio was like 30%. So we're really low. We're trying to avoid cutting prices. We have the room in the margins, but we basically want to increase everything before we do that. We want to go try to increase close ratio other ways rather than just cutting price.
Got it. Okay.
So we're
Anything else? Go ahead.
We're kind of middle to top end of the market price wise. So raise prices in 2022. So we're trying to avoid raising or changing price. Really, we're going to try and pull other levers first.
Okay. Anything in the middle of spring rush we got to work on in terms of other key hires? It sounds like you got the GM, but between you and him, you sounds like you're going to do pretty good. Are you going to need that sales team through just Q2, or do you think that's going to be someone you lay off?
I haven't really thought that through yet. The goal obviously would be to have them full time, long term.
Okay.
Q2 we get so many leads that it's like we probably don't need them Q2, but it's like the off peaks, the times when we kind of need that salesperson bringing in interest. Yeah, that's the plan, is long term, bring them into the family, bring them into the fold, and kind of get them into our ecosystem, so that they can go from door to door sales to maybe a tech, making P4P, and then grow from there.
Okay, cool. All right, Q3, things slow down a little bit. What are we thinking in terms of changes? Are we just basically still rolling? Are you going to be trying to get more out of the business in terms of your either wages or even just like hours out of the business? What's kind of the plan for Q3?
Q3 is generally just autopilot, like running, making sure things are running smoothly. We do repairs. A lot of repairs happen then. But yeah, retaining employees, keeping people excited and on board with the vision. This year was our first full year doing P4P, so that's helped a ton.
Very good. And then in terms of Q3, is that sometimes when you lose customers?
No, Q3 into Q4 is kind of when we lose clients. Mostly. Yeah.
Okay. You in here?
Yeah, I'll be out in a minute.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else as you kind of slow down then in Q4, like things to make sure that we are actually getting the $100,000 cash on hand? Is there winter services you try to upsell, anything like that?
No. So, I mean, we're about 70% of our clients stay open. So we have a little bit of a slowdown over the winter. It's not crazy. But yeah, just that's our big thing, is trying to find those clients who are open year round. Because like I said, it is a majority of the market down here. But yeah.
And so what percentage would you like to target for that to kind of, is it, like you said, 60 to 70%, like if we had a target for 80%, would that be a reasonable target?
Yeah, that'd be a reasonable goal. Yeah.
Okay. So 80% retention of recurring. And I would assume almost all your revenue is recurring work, right, Phil?
Yeah. 90%. Yep.
Got it. And is there any upsell opportunities during that time in terms of like one-off stuff? Okay.
Yeah, big time. So repairs is a big part of our focus, is trying to get that more profitable, because right now it's not. So trying to get it to where we're doing more one-click estimate emails, getting more jobs on the schedule. That's definitely a big opportunity that we can hit for growth. But it's not our focus. Our bread and butter is just routine maintenance.
Got it. And is there more repairs in Q4? People just don't care about it until spring rush, essentially.
We try to drum repairs up and push things off as much as we can. I mean, if it's critical and needs to be done, it needs to be done. But we try to line things up for the winter where we can have more time.
Okay. And if we set a goal for repairs for Q4, month on a monthly basis, what are we thinking in terms of like a dollar amount? Do you think we could get $15,000 or $20,000?
Yeah. I was gonna say 20,000.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for hopping on here and being the example for everybody.
Absolutely.
I'll send you
battery, so it's good.
I'll send you the PDF of this later, but I appreciate you hopping on, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks.
You got it. Yep. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Phil, for hopping on. All right. So if in case you guys are following along and kind of doing your own, super helpful to be able to get a real example of this. But you really if you're kind of stumped on like where do I go for filling in the boxes, just look at these different strategies that can be added. Services offered, key hires, what's your close ratio going to look like? Certain sales or promotions. You could say, I'm going to really focus on fall cleanups, or I'm going to really focus on, trying to upsell a certain package of chemicals. There's just so many different things, like systems. Okay, well, am I going to do P for P? When I'm going to implement that? Am I going to switch over to Copilot? Like Phil mentioned, like that's going to take you some time. Marketing. Am I doing door hangers? When am I doing door hangers? How much am I spending on the door hangers? What type of door hangers am I getting? These are all things. If you're having a certain promotion, like buy one, get one free, 15% off, these are all things that you need to have on this plan, because it's just not going to randomly happen that you go from $50,000 a month to $900,000 a year. It's just not just going to happen. All right. And if you're going to be going that big, you need to be planning for the fact that most of the time you are going to have capital expenditures. You're going to have trucks, equipment, shop space. You're going to have to buy those things, and those are going to directly impact, again, a little marker here, they're going to directly impact your profit. Not your profit, your cash on hand. The reason I have cash on hand every single quarter here is because too many of times, like, yeah, I need a truck because I'm going to be doubling my size of my business. Great. Are you ever going to run out of oxygen? Okay. Very important to always know what your cash on hand is for every single month, every single quarter. And if you're running projections like this, you need to always keep track of how much oxygen you have. Because like I said, if Phil would have said he needed to buy 3 or 4 trucks right here, I would have been very concerned knowing that he only has $80,000 in the bank. And it's like, okay, well, if you are going to get debt, that's fine, but let's plan for that. Let's go ahead and see what those rates are going to look like. What's that going to do to our fixed expenses once we do get more debt? So these are the important things you want to be looking at. And this is why I think working with a 3-year plan like this, a vision map, then drilling in on that first year, that's all you're doing. You're drilling down on it and creating a much more tangible strategic plan based upon all of these things. All right. I'm going to take Q&A in just a second here, so feel free to start putting those in the comments. I did want to, while those are coming in, just go through these. So again, this is the last 2 days of being able to join Copilot with the price lock guarantee, which guarantees your prices will not go up forever as long as you're in the enterprise level. But in terms of Copilot, this is stuff we've added. I really want to say thank you to everyone that has joined in 2023. I'm very, very appreciative. We are over double what we had projected in terms of users at the end of the year. And we have been able to get through 2023 without having to raise money, go into debt, sell equity. I own 90% of the company, 10% is my co-founder. And I'm very appreciative to say that we are not burning money like hand over fist like we were throughout 2023. We are now cash flow positive and adding to the team significantly as we go forward. So these are all the features. You can read them if you want that we added in 2023. Sequence automations, job costing and price matrices, tuning up both of those next couple weeks, deposit thresholds, budget hour capacity charts. We have the integration with P for P, which is pay for performance now that Phil was mentioning. He in the pool service was using it as well. Multi-location control, which we call command centers. If you do have multiple locations, you can have one access point for multiple locations. We have the ability to have a card on file requirement. We have call notes and automated reminders. We have upselling from the mobile app. So when your crew is on the job site, they can quickly upsell customers into other services or more services immediately through text or email. A wiki page, cockpit of all your KPIs, so you know your close ratio and all these other numbers. Search bars, dark mode. We have an integration with ChatGPT. This is all just this year. We integrated Zapier, so you can integrate a whole bunch of different types of software. And then we have a 365-day money-back guarantee that if you don't grow your business by 10%, or don't make it more than 10% profitable, we'll give you your money back. All right. So go to the site. You can check it out. Go through all of this on the site. But I honestly, like, Copilot exists because I want to make you more money. And if we don't make you more money and you're using the enterprise level that has all the features I believe are required to really grow and scale a business, I don't want your money. And I really do hope that one day other software companies are forced to do what we're doing. And that is, I guarantee you will grow your business. And if it doesn't grow, I will give you your money back. So feel free to look at the website. Feel free to look at the video on the main page. This is kind of real quick before we go to Q&A. This is actually how we do planning at Copilot, just like we talked about today. You can kind of see like the 3 main objectives that we're working on each quarter. This is live. You can see this all publicly on the website underneath the roadmap for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So right now we're really working hard on the wait list, programs, and chemicals, as well as revamping the work order and forms so they're customizable and just way more user-friendly. And then we're now working on that offline mode, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So, all right, let's jump into some Q&A. Again, the reason I'm even talking about Copilot is because we only have 2 more days left for that price lock guarantee. Again, please go to the website, check it out. I just want to make sure no one's surprised when prices go up. I really want to appreciate the people that are joining sooner and supporting us from the get. So let's jump into some questions. There's a whole bunch coming through. Let me see here. Someone's saying the website's not working. I just pulled it up. Copilot is working just fine. Jesus, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's working. I just checked because I saw your comment. We all have all the team watching the university. Fantastic. Ami's talking about Copilot University. All right, question. Here we go. If you have ever done a budget for marketing and planning for growth, how do you go about planning for it? So what you're going to want to look at is really 2 things. A customer comes from either someone else referring them, like, hey, you should go use Johnny's lawn service. They also, I would also consider organic is them seeing your truck and calling you. The alternative is that they come through marketing. So either paid or it's organic. Okay. So the question is, how much are you going to have to spend on the paid side? Because if you're not spending any money on marketing, that's great. However, it's very hard to be able to predict how much you're going to have to spend to grow the business. So if you've been doing 400,000, 400,000, 400,000 in annual revenue each year, and you're like, I want to go to 800,000. Fantastic. You haven't been doing any marketing. The question is, how much marketing dollars will you need to spend to get from 400,000 to 800,000? Knowing your customer acquisition cost is going to answer this question. And your customer acquisition cost is how much do you have to spend in order to get a new customer? Okay. And then you can simply determine how much per year does a customer make you? All right. So if you have 100 customers and you're doing $400,000 in annual revenue, that means $4,000 per year per customer is what you're making. So if I can go spend $100 to acquire a customer, that's my customer acquisition cost, and they're going to make me $4,000 in annual revenue, that means I need to be able to go get 4,000. I need 100 more customers. So if I need 100 more customers to go from 400,000 to 800,000, and I know I can buy them for $100 a pop, that means I need to go spend $10,000 on marketing in order to be able to achieve that goal. All right. So it's simply a matter of customer acquisition cost and the value of that customer per year. If you know those 2 numbers, you can work your way backwards in terms of how much you need to spend. And I only look at paid ads because I cannot control organic. I cannot control how many people refer me, etc. I can promote things, but I can't predictably know. I can't force Sally to tell Jimmy to call me for lawn service. I can't force that. So therefore, I'm not going to use it in my projections. I can plan and project how much dollars I need to spend every month to get X amount of customers. And then if you really drill down to it, it's like, okay, well, now how many leads are you going to need? Well, that's going to be divided by your close ratio. So if I need 100 new customers, but I'm only closing, like he was saying, 30%, well, now all of a sudden I need about 300 leads. Okay, 300 leads. I don't know my customer acquisition cost, but do you know your cost per lead? Because let's say you cost $50 is your cost per lead, which means you put $50 into the marketing machine. You get 1 lead, one person be like, I want service. You get 1 of those coming back to you. All right. If we need now 300 of them times by 50, that's $15,000 you're going to need to spend on marketing. So you can keep working your way back. We went from customer acquisition cost, then we figure out our cost per lead. If you know any of those 2 numbers and your close ratio, you should be able to figure out how much you're going to spend on marketing. You can go further back and figure out your cost per click. So we're not going to get into all of that. I hope I didn't lose anyone in the weeds there, but that's the general way you can figure out how much you can need to spend on your marketing budget. And if you use that and you have accurate numbers on your close ratio and your customer acquisition cost and your lead cost per lead, if you have accurate numbers on that, usually you'll actually overshoot on your budget because you're not accounting for the fact that you have organic traffic. You have people coming to you that don't cost anything because they never were had to be advertised to. However, you also need to account for retention. So I was asking about retention with Phil, because if you don't retain your customers and they're leaving out the back door, you can keep paying all day long. And this is why this is the biggest, scariest thing in business when I see home service businesses doing this. And that is they're plateaued revenue, they're spending money on marketing, and they're not growing. So if you're plateauing revenue and you're spending a bunch of money on ads, it means that if you didn't spend money on ads, your revenues actually decrease. That's very scary. And typically it's very unprofitable. That was a very long answer, and that's going to kill me because there's a gazillion questions coming in. And I only have about 30 more minutes. I have to hop on another call. Hey, Mike, if I have in here and I'm talking to Aiden, can I get a price like when it's fixed? I'm assuming that you are trying to upgrade your system. Yes, we will make sure we get you in. We have all the team watching the Copilot University. Calvin, strategy works for anything regardless if it's full-time, part-time, or a dream. When going from one truck to two trucks, what's the biggest advice you can give since your eyes cannot be on other properties aside from P for P? The biggest thing is to make sure that when you are one person, one truck to two trucks, and you're like working all the time, take out what you would be paying somebody per hour, take that out of what you think is profit, and give yourself some padding of 50%. So if you're gonna have to pay someone $20 an hour and you're doing it, and you're like, man, I'm making like $300-400 in profit a day. Great. Take out $20 an hour plus 50%, so $30 an hour. Now if it's an 8-hour day, it's $240. Take that $240 out of that $300 or $400 you're making in profit and see if you're profitable. Okay, so if you're making less than $300, you literally might be making $10 or $20 in profit if you hire someone to go do that work. So especially if you're solo, you got to take out the wages once you hire someone, and then you can really determine whether or not it's actually profitable. What is the website to check this? Copilot is not working. It is working. I just pulled it up. CopilotCRM.com. Will Kelly, when sending estimates out for your locations in Augusta, do you include the taxes in the total number or initial estimate, or do you leave the taxes blank so it doesn't inflate the quoted amount? Oh, I see what you're saying. Some people leave the taxes in, some people don't. Some states require it to be shown. I like the line items to be clean, so it's really clear. And then if they check off which ones they want to accept, it can show the taxes like a total. That's fine. Kind of depends too if you're making them pay 50% like a deposit on the tax amount. We do mainly project-based work, currently using LMN. Is Copilot worth switching over to? It depends on the size of your projects. I basically have said if you're doing over $50,000 projects, I would not switch to Copilot yet. If you look on the roadmap, it's the end of 2024 is when we are adding in a lot more big project stuff. Also, do you think offering a $50 off coupon or a free first mow on a postcard is a good offer to pick up new customers? Look up on my YouTube channel for creating offers that you can't refuse back in October. And I literally walk how to create an offer. I don't like free mows. I don't think it's a great strategy. Typically the people you are attracting are the most price sensitive. So I'm not a huge fan. Cody, moved my business to a rich city in Georgia and started from 0 customers again. Have $7,000 mowing door hangers ready to go. Oh, sorry, 7,000 mowing door hangers ready to go and have website marketing in the area now. What else would you recommend I use to grow as quickly as possible from 0 to 20,000 per month and 1 employee as quick as possible? $25 per day Google Ads. Yeah, just be careful. Like depending on how big your area is, a rich city in Georgia, I don't know how many thousands of your population, but a lot of times I see people spend a bunch of money on Google Ads, and the vast majority of people spend too much per day and they're wasting money. And there's ways to be able to see whether or not that's happening. But essentially, if you have let's say 20,000 people you're trying to target in your area, there's only so many people searching for lawn care. So if you spend $100 or $50 or $20, you might get the same number of clicks. And what you might end up doing is those extra 1 or 2 clicks you do get by raising your budget are like $20 or $30 a click. So be careful with that, is all I would say. And most of the time I see people, if they're spending more than 10 or 20 bucks, $20 or $30 per day on Google, they're usually overspending unless they have a massive market. So if you're targeting like 1 million people, you might get away with it. And there's enough clicks to sustain that budget. But if you're going after 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people and you have a $100 per day budget on Google, I guarantee you are spending way too much to get the extra couple clicks. So I'd be very, very careful with that. And how you can do this is like incrementally increase your budget. Maybe $5 a day, like start it off at $10 a day, move it to 15, see if anything changes. Oh, I got more leads. Fantastic. All right. Move it to 20. Fantastic. Okay, I hit 25 and all of a sudden I'm not getting any more leads or clicks. And my cost per click is just going up now. That's those, you want to stop there. Thanks, Amity. I'm really curious as to your recommendations on ratios of what's required revenue versus cash on hand versus debt. It really depends mostly on how fast the business is growing. So for example, Phil is growing by 50%. He only has $30,000 bank. That's like, from a cash perspective, pretty low. That's literally less than half a month worth of revenue. So that would be a very weak cash position. And so that's why, if I was talking with Phil longer, I'd really drill down on how are we going to change this business to be more profitable? Like, is it just by adding scale that we're going to get economies of scale on things like chemicals for the pools? Because that's like, just growing an unprofitable business isn't going to make it more profitable. Like, we've added a GM, there's more overhead. Like, if we're going to grow the business by 50%, is it a matter of economy of scale? The reason I didn't give him a pass. The reason I didn't really bring that up a lot with him is because he said he does have excess capacity with his trucks right now. So he thinks he can grow his business by 50% without having to buy a single truck. That is much more efficient profitable revenue, going from 600,000 to 900,000 compared to 0 to 600,000. So that's how he will become profitable this next year, is growing the revenue without having to buy any more trucks. Because right now his asset capacity is not good. Or sorry, his asset utilization is not good. Jesse, question. I'm at $132,000 per employee per year in revenue. We have some small ideas to drive more revenue without buying or spending a dollar. About $50,000 in revenue. Raising rates brings in another $50,000 in revenue. This would get us to about $145,000 in revenue per employee. Can you get much better than that in landscaping maintenance? That's pretty good. It also really depends on, like, for example, yes, you could by things like making them work longer hours, right? You could do that. Maybe it's not the best thing. Maybe you want to go to 410s. I'd maybe try that out. I would definitely be working on something like pay for performance, because just implementing pay for performance, you could definitely get above, go from 132 to say 150 if you don't have that system in place. So it'd just be a matter of, it sounds like you're more in the optimization stage, not growth. And so that's actually a fun place to be because you're usually more profitable. But that's a pretty good number. Like if you can get $150,000 per year per employee on maintenance, that's usually a pretty profitable business. So good job. Is going from 200,000 to 500K resemble I think you mean possible in my market in Alberta. For lawn care, we did 30 to 40K with one truck for 4 months. The other month are slow. Keep in mind, as you get multiple trucks, your revenue per truck will go down, mostly due to the fact that you're in the first truck, right? And you're going to be working longer hours. You're going to be more efficient, even if you have an employee, because you're going to keep your eyes on them and they're going to be super efficient. That's why a lot of times between 200,000 and 500,000 in annual revenue, I don't see a big increase in profit. That's why we call it the wilderness in terms of revenue, because I see people at 200,000 make the same amount of profit as they do at 500,000, and they get They get distracted during that time because they're like, man, I was making just as much profit when I was working by myself in the one truck. So keep that in mind, because what's going to happen is your second, your third, your fourth truck is typically not as profitable as your first. And so that's why I get careful. I try to be careful with people trying to I have one truck and one employee. I did $150,000. Therefore, if I get one other truck, I'll use $300,000. It doesn't work that way. Also, because as you add more trucks, you add more liability that one of them is going to go down for whatever reason. And so typically you have to have less asset utilization. You're not driving truck number 1 8 hours a day. Now you have 4 trucks, but a 5th one sits at the shop all day long. Typically your asset utilization will go down too. When calculating net profit, I notice you need to include the owner's salary. Can you explain that rationale? Yeah, because honestly, if you look at the business as a separate organism from the owner, if you look at it that way, it means that if you weren't existing, the business would have to pay some salary to you to do the work. And so if the business is only making, say, 50 grand, but you're not taking a salary, that means that if you didn't exist and you had to hire a general manager for 50 grand, the business would be unprofitable. So in my opinion, profit on the business is after you've taken a salary that is corresponding to your amount of time and effort spent on the business. So like my first location, I'm only there maybe 30, 40 minutes a week, right? So like my salary is like, I want to say 20 grand a year, right? That is corresponding, and from an IRS perspective, when you're an S Corp, you need to be able to show that. However, I take that $20,000 out as an expense before I consider profit, because I am looking at, if I was replaced, what would this business, this other organism make without me? Question, around the 50K mark, am I better to push and keep growing or refine and get a firm grip on systems and numbers so I can plug and play growth down the road? This comes down to risk analysis and cash, what your cash position is. If you have a whole bunch of money in the bank, you might tend to be more on to grow, like go ahead and grow. If you're at 500,000, I think someone that optimizes at 500,000 can easily get another $50,000 in profit out of their business if they spend 1 year, don't grow, don't get more trucks, don't do a bunch of marketing, and just optimize. And so that might be a better thing if you have less of a cash position. Pricing page is not working. What are you talking about? Let me check. I was just on it. It's working. This is right here. It might be if you're on iOS, because we had some things the other day weird when we were changing some of the designs. 1 second, let me show you this. It's not that one. Present, stop screen, present, share screen. This is the pricing page. I just pulled it up now. Let me check on my phone. iOS did some weird stuff. But I want to get back to the questions. 1 second here. Copilot crm.com. Ooh, you're right on iOS. That's really strange. We're pushing an update. Okay, I'll take a look at this later. Yeah, on iOS, look on the mobile. You can't pull it up on Safari. I know we're pushing up some updates. We're getting ready for the price increases. So go on your desktop and it'll be fine. Sorry about that. I will take a look. Let's see here. Do not take a loan out. Become profitable first. Owner salary is an expense of the business, thus not part of the business for profit. I grossed $121,000 and spent $90,000, including my salary in my lawn care business. Is that good or is that pretty high? I grossed $121K and spent $90K, including my salary in my lawn care business. Is that good? Yeah, for solo operator, that's fine. Again, your profit on the quote unquote business would be $30,000, which is not bad. That's like a 20% profit margin after you've paid yourself. And so that's great. Depends on the growth. It was a huge year, though, and substantial CapEx to continue that growth in future years. I grossed $200,000, spent it all, but I'm pretty sure everyone in the city knows us now. Guessing a lot of marketing. If you are in the player coach stage and want to increase productivity while wanting to maximize the current crew, have one salesperson, me, owner operator, one full-time grounds person, one part-time equipment operator. I'm looking at getting a crane to make our work more efficient. Keep my guys working more jobs per day, plus less effort. Yeah, like as the cost of labor goes up, the investment in equipment looks more and more appealing, right? Because if you can save more time by getting more equipment, and finding labor is a lot harder than finding new equipment, then you should probably buy the equipment, right? So, yeah. Okay, we have a ton of questions, guys. I am sorry, but I'm gonna have to cut it. There's at least 80 here. I'm not gonna get to. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm having trouble figuring out the best way to switch my company to budgeted hours. We did just over $200,000 in annual revenue last year, but I'm looking to switch to budget hours for P4P and redundancy. Yeah, like I'm assuming you're probably, right now you need to figure out what your hourly rate is going to be, right? And if you look at the P4P book or the training, I talk about figuring your hourly rate based upon what your base pay is going to be. So let's just use an example. $20 per hour is your base pay on P4P. I recommend you at least charge 80 or 4 times at least times that for your hourly rate. I ideally like to be more on 5 times. So that'd be like $100 an hour. So you can start using it as a benchmark, and then you can determine whether or not it's accurate or not by tracking how long jobs are taking you, and then dividing it and seeing like, what is our hourly rate if we charge someone $50 and it took us 30 minutes? Bam, we were charging $100 per hour on the job site. That's what budget hours is. And so then you can determine your hourly rate, and then when you start pricing jobs, an $80 job, if you're charging $80 an hour, is a 1 budget hour job. So how to switch over to it kind of depends on your CRM. There's several CRMs that like Copilot does, Service Autopilot does, have budget hours columns, and that's nice. Jobber, some people put it in the title because they don't have that, or use a custom field. And there's other ones that use like, you have to get a little more creative sometimes using budgeted hours. Thanks, Mike. Been implementing your methods for a year and a half and staying solo, not hiring. Still working part-time job to pay the mortgage, and business is doing 75K per year and using it all to build business. Other solo operators email me to collaborate more using Mike's methods. I know how there are tough moments making decisions, and a buddy working solo like you could be helpful to bounce stuff off. Mike, you gave us freedom, buddy. You're more than welcome. Would that go against amplifying services by adding a crane? Okay, this is Cody's question. It really depends. Like if you're adding a completely different service, yes. Right now you're talking about new. Amplify though could be the fact that now maybe you can produce twice as many projects in people's backyards and charge a really high rate, and you're already doing those type of projects. I don't know what type of services you do, but let's say you're doing a pool installations. All of a sudden, if you can increase the amount of pool installations per week that you can do because you have the crane, starts to make sense. Now you're amplifying, right? So. All right, I am going to call it a day. I appreciate all of you tremendously for being on here. I am going to look into why on iOS our website's not loading. I know that we're just getting ready for the price increase for January. So please go on desktop. I'll fix this hopefully in a couple of seconds. I know they're doing this right now. But please, in the next day or two, if you're thinking about joining Copilot, do so now so you can get the price lock guarantee. I appreciate all of you. I hope that by filling this document out is helpful for you and your business. This is what I use in all my businesses, thinking about the 3-year, longer term vision map, and then working backwards on that year, looking at each quarter and what my cash on hand is going to be, what the strategic moves are going to be. And honestly, if you have more than 3 or 4 things you're really focused on in a quarter, it's probably not going to happen. So get laser-like focus on what are those key strategic things that you're going to do in the business to be able to grow and expand, make the business more profitable. And that's what I wish for you all on this new year. So happy new year. I hope you had a fantastic holiday and a fantastic holiday coming up for the new year. And I really look forward to just so much we have in the plan for 2024, Copilot, Augusta, and other stuff we're working on. But I sent a video out to everyone yesterday, but I did just want to say thank you for all of your support, the community. Really nothing that I do is possible without the community support, because we don't spend a bunch of money on marketing or advertising. You'll never see an ad, promoting Augusta franchise or, Copilot. We don't have the money for it. We spend all of the time and attention on building the product better. And so I just want to say thank you, because none of this happens without all of your support. So whether it's like lawn care media, lawn care web design, home service CPA, there's more that I'm forgetting. Like, I really do appreciate the support. And from the bottom of my heart, I wanted to say thank you. 2023 was a crazy year. Definitely the most stressful I've ever had in a career, but it's extremely rewarding. And I'm very grateful for all of you. You're giving, supporting what we're doing, and it means the world to me. So I hope that today and these type of trainings are helpful. And ultimately, I want you to grow your business. I want you to make more money. And I truly believe that by small business owners doing that in America, we will help families, we will help our employees, we will help communities grow, our churches grow. And that's all I really care about. Because honestly, the money's going to go somewhere. I just don't want it to go to the government. I want it to be put to good use. And I hate the fact that so many small business owners in the home service industries fail. It's abhorrent, the numbers. And I see a lot of P&Ls. I see a lot of balance sheets. And it's very sad how hard people work and see no results for it. And so the tools that we are creating, tools both from an educational perspective and now software, which I'll be focused on a lot, is built to fix that problem. And I do believe we can do that. But I wanted to say very special thank you to all of you for making that happen. So have a fantastic rest of your weekend, a fantastic new year. I can't wait to see what 2024 holds. I hope you all have a fantastic evening as well. Take care.